It is a Tuesday in late January. The transfer portal has been officially closed for quite some time. However, with all the coaching changes, it is still humming. That's why we're here every day at 4 o'clock Eastern Time this week to break down the transfer portal. We will give an update in just a few minutes. But first, we want to bring in our guest, Daniel House from Gophers Guru. And again, we appreciate you all being here at the Voice of College Football. Leave those comments and questions in the chat, and we will take some calls in a few minutes. Daniel's on the line. Daniel, what's going on today?
Mark, what's up, man? It's transfer portal season still. It's closed, but coaching changes keep it active, like you said.
And that's the deal. And that's something I got to admit, I didn't really. Had somebody asked me, I would have thought, yeah, that's what the rule is. So we're going to see an extended transfer portal window. But just the amount of movement, because, for as much as NIL plays into all of this, and let's not be foolish, we understand that money moves people. However, I think it is pretty self-evident to see the commitment and the relationship with these coaches. And therefore, when the coach leaves, that players scatter. Now, there have been some really good moves made by, for example, Brent Brennan moving from San Jose State to Arizona and being able to keep Noah Fafita there as his quarterback and some of his other key pieces. But it's got to be a struggle, and maybe some of those former recruiting ties come into play, where maybe you had a relationship with that athlete a few years ago, even though you didn't lure him to your campus. But it is interesting. And of course, Washington, Alabama, Arizona, and San Jose State players prominent in the portal right now. But I wanted to catch up with you on the Minnesota front. Of course, the Gophers did it again. They won a bowl game. They are perfect under PJ Fleck, and even beyond that with, I believe, 7 consecutive bowl wins. So they did conclude a losing season with another bowl victory over Bowling Green. And of course, the big addition during the offseason, among a few, was the quarterback coming in from New Hampshire. So, Daniel, let's start there in regards to, this is a guy that I'm understanding is the odds-on favorite to win the job.
Yeah, right away, odds-on favorite to be the starter. Offered him. Then Ethan Manis entered the transfer portal, and so Brosmer was a top target from the get-go. You look at the film, accurate, good anticipation, smart show up, especially when manipulating defenders in the red zone. I thought he threw really well there. That's one of the first things that I look for. How do these quarterbacks respond in compressed space? Led the FCS in yards, first downs, attempts. 74.5% adjusted completion percentage, 85th percentile among FCS quarterbacks. Very smart. Wants to do something with potentially being a heart doctor. PJ Fleck was talking about that during the signing day press conference. A semifinalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy. I thought he did good on play action, looking at the numbers, watching on film, being able to sell the play fake, and particularly against blitz pressure. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS versus the blitz. So you look at those combined things, the accuracy, the ability to handle pressure. Obviously, the speed jump is going to be big between the FCS and the Big Ten, but definitely want to have that mental edge, and that experience at the FCS level should help ease that transition. And some schematic stuff like their blocking schemes, the motion they use, the play action game, a lot of the conceptual stuff they did at New Hampshire should help ease that transition for Brosmer a little bit.
Daniel, I see 7 total incoming transfers. Who else piques your interest in evaluating the tape and the stats? Do you think could make a big impact?
Yeah, one of the big things Minnesota did in this transfer portal cycle was revamping and retooling the running back room. It's a huge part of what they do. Last year, got down the barrel on the depth chart toward the end of the season. So PJ Fleck knows that they're going to play that physical brand football. You need to have a diverse mix of running backs and different skill sets. So they went and got C.A. Bangura from Ohio, a longer frame back that's able to, one cut run in the zone scheme, and when it's blocked up, be able to take advantage of it. So obviously with what Minnesota does with their zone blocking scheme, should be a good fit there. He's more physical than you'd expect, able to fall forward and get some yardage. I believe he'll benefit from playing in front of a better offensive line. You look at some of the metrics and watch the film of how that offensive line blocked at Ohio. He definitely took advantage of the creases when they're available, but when he's hit at the line of scrimmage, he's less effective in that respect. But you look at his receiving skills. I think that's another underrated aspect of his game, able to catch the ball in the backfield and do some things there to put stress on the defense. Then they're able to get Marcus Major from Oklahoma, 5-year member of the program, physical runner with a little bit of blend of size and downhill acceleration, another type of one-cut runner who can make the initial defender miss. I think from a fit standpoint, another person who is a one-cut zone scheme runner. Actually did not start playing running back until his junior year of high school. So he's got a wide receiver background. You can see that, being able to catch some check downs and do some stuff there. So I think, the inside, mid, outside zone scheme, ability to make decisive cut, he'll definitely fit that. So 2 running backs were definitely the priority. And then I would say Ethan Robinson from Bucknell is going to compete for reps right away opposite of Justin Wally. You fire on the film, you see someone who's a very good zone corner, able to trigger and drive on the ball while playing that type of coverage and match and undercut underneath routes. So I would keep an eye on him as potentially someone who could come in and play a big role right away. They're going to try to create more competition across the roster. I think that's something that they felt they needed a little more of to improve the depth of their team, creating competition, and they can do that through the portal.
Daniel House is here breaking down the Gophers for us. This is our transfer portal update for the day here at the Voice of College Football. You can catch Daniel's work at Gophers Guru. You see it right there on the screen, gophersguru.com, and also the X handle for both Daniel and the site. We're about 5 weeks away from spring practice. I don't know exactly when Minnesota starts, but it's always a early March opening for spring practice. And then we're going to have the 15 practices, a spring game, and then boom, we're going to be back into another transfer portal cycle. Is it too early to predict, and not asking about specific players, but where they could be looking because they're thin in certain areas?
Yeah, I'd say defensive tackle is one position that definitely maybe want to get another player there. Kyler Baugh is departing due to graduation. So he was a very important player for them. Physical, strong, active defensive tackle. Jordan Garrod was committed, Florida International transfer to Minnesota, and then flipped to Louisville. So they were unable to keep him committed. So I would say, defensive tackle was a position that they were looking at trying to upgrade. The rush end spot, getting another experienced player behind Danny Strigow, I think that's something that could potentially be a target. So keep an eye on defensive line, specifically defensive tackle, or the rush end spot as a potential couple upgrade spots. I think you'll see more on the defensive side of the ball now. You got those 5 offensive transfers, 2 on the defensive side of the ball. So defense should be the priority moving into the next aspect of the portal season.
You mentioned the running back position. There are 2 losses on that side of the football in that position, with Marquise Williams and Max Evans being 2 of the 3, or I'm sorry, Zach Evans being 2 of the 3 that are names that I'm aware of, and guys that I remember being recruited and then also performing at the Power 5 level. So in regards to the 9 losses, what is significant there? Anything?
Really, I mean, player retention was a strength this offseason for Minnesota through their collective Dinkytown athletes. They're able to come up with NIL packages, and also players just wanting to stay for the fit, the playing time that they'll receive. Obviously, it's more Ethan Kaliakmanis was the top transfer that left, but they were able to replace him with Max Brosmer, so able to fill that spot. Other than that, I mean, yeah, you mentioned Zach Evans. He had some reps, but they retooled that running back room. He was in and out injured last year, so they knew that they needed to get some running back depth. So transfer portal wise, I mean, you look at where everybody went. You got commitments to Eastern Michigan, Akron, Illinois State, North Texas, Alabama A&M. So really the biggest jump for a player was the Kalikumanis brothers going to Rutgers, and that's about it.
Our buddy Greg is jumping in the chat and
Greg.
thinking that that there needs to be a quarterback addition from a depth standpoint and a veteran presence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Logan Fife was committed from Fresno State, ended up flipping and going to Montana. So probably going to be targeting another experienced quarterback to provide some depth there. That was kind of the plan, but then you get those U-turns in the portal where you get somebody committed and then they flip, and so your whole strategy changes. And I think Minnesota had like 5 of those U-turns where they had people committed and they ended up going elsewhere. That's just the landscape that the transfer portal is. It keeps you on your toes. So yeah, I definitely say on offense, that's the one spot on that side of the ball now that they'll definitely target.
I'm sure there is some relation that's the same here, and then there are just varying opinions, whether you're talking inside the building on campus, you're talking about media, or you're talking about the fan base. But PJ Fleck, of course, elevated the program, made some key moves in the first season or two. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, we mentioned the bowl number is a really good number, of course. And what the good seasons have been, and then they dropped below 500 this past season. Now he's been there for 7 years, and is there a general thought that this program's still in the right direction, especially considering what the increased competition is going to look like, or that maybe it's leveled off and there needs to be a spark of sorts?
I think this is a big year just for retooling depth. That was the big thing last year. I mean, you circle back to Minnesota and you look at, that defense at the start of the year versus the end of the year. You've got true freshmen out on the field playing linebacker. Purdue, you got a walk on also in the game. That affects your ability to be competitive, especially with those players having a minimal amount of reps. They lost some people in the portal on the defensive side of the ball that were going to provide depth. So I thought that hurt him. And then I thought the quarterback play was definitely a problem, not being able to execute as well. I mean, I went back and looked at 0 to 15-yard passes last year. Minnesota was at the bottom of the FBS in completion percentage, positive play percentage on those type of throws. You look at the execution of the passing game. I wrote about that on the website. I think when things are open, when you're centered around running the football and being physical and you go play action, you got to be able to hit the open throws. And there were quite a few instances last year where plays were there to be made, things were schemed open, and they just weren't executed, whether that's ball placement, whether that's accuracy, whether that's a drop pass, whether that's like a throw tempo problem. Like Minnesota now with Max Brosmer, they made that position a priority. They knew that they needed to get a quarterback that could run the system that Greg Harbaugh and Matt Simon wanted to. So depth and the quarterback spot, those are the two things that will propel the program in the right direction. We'll see if they're able to accomplish those missions moving forward here.
He is Daniel House, Gophers Guru. What do you have available over there right now, Daniel?
There's a lot of stuff available. Transfer portal insight on each of the additions. Coaching staff nuggets. Minnesota made a defensive coordinator hire, Corey Heatherman, linebackers coach at Rutgers. He's taken over as defensive coordinator. Bob Ligashevsky, special teams coordinator from Syracuse, coming in to be the new Gopher special teams coordinator. I think with Ligashevsky, you're probably going to see a little bit more of an emphasis on being aggressive in the punt return game. Looking at his past tendencies compared with Minnesota's, it's definitely something to watch. So read about those, roster retention, who's coming back, who's signed with Inkytown athletes. But I encourage people to go check out the transfer portal tracker. It puts all of my articles from the off season in there, so you can kind of get up to speed on where everything's at with the roster, coaching staff, and existing personnel.
Do you think those coaching additions were pretty favorable?
Corey Heatherman's fun. I went and watched a ton of film on their games. I was so impressed with their ability to get off blocks up front on the defensive line. Definitely can tell it's a major emphasis. He's got a defensive line coach background. He worked with Joe Harris-Simiak, who is safeties coach here in Minnesota under Joe Rossi. So runs that quarters-based type of defensive structure, has experience in that. So he can add, kind of come in with the existing structure and add to it. Their pressure stuff was very intriguing at James Madison when he was there as a defensive coordinator. I believe they went 33-5 combined record during his tenure at James Madison, and they had some very, very efficient run defenses. So keep an eye on Minnesota and the run defense side of it. I think that's going to be a major emphasis, and then the blitz packages. So it'll be kind of a melding of what they did with Joe Rossi and the existing staff, plus some of the stuff that he picked up at James Madison and Rutgers. So similarity there.
Daniel, we always appreciate you taking our call.
Happy to come on. Always love talking ball with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Have a good day.
You too. See you later.
Daniel House, tremendous job he does there at Gophers Guru. Keep in mind that our next show is coming up in just a little over an hour. Over on the Iowa channel, we've got Hawkeyes Live with myself, Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. And we will talk Hawkeyes. And then Nebraska Live at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Got a full slate of college football shows for you today on a Tuesday, which also includes the Biggest 12. That's on the Big 12 channel here at the Voice of College Football with Clint Foster. The Biggest 12 at 7:30 Eastern. Michigan Live with John D'Adamo at 8 Eastern on the Michigan channel. Then we've got Oregon Live with Ben and Company. That's at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific over on the Oregon channel, but it all starts right there. All right. We post our complete schedule every day over on the community page right here on the main channel. All right. Let's get to why we're here, and that's to run down the player movement from this Tuesday of college football. And I'm guessing, because I've been tied up for a couple hours, that there are a few moves that have been made beyond what I've taken in. And that is the case right out of the gate. Boom. Right off the top. Let me be able to see here. Because at the time I went through, from the time that we last provided this update yesterday, we've had 3, 6, 7 moves. And I think we've got a few more because we didn't even take these into account. So we've got our buddy Corey Smith reporting, and this is all 247 Sports. Got to give them credit. NC State is set to host 3 official visitors this weekend, a couple SEC playmakers, and so we're not going to necessarily dive into that, but you can go to 247 Sports and go to, I believe it's Pack Pride, and check out who NC State is hosting this weekend. So our latest move here is, again, Washington. Of course, 2024 signee, 4-star offensive lineman Paki Finau has entered the transfer portal. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Finau ranked as the 18th overall interior offensive lineman in the 2024 class. I do not believe that he played. I do not believe. But still, as you see, a top 20 interior guard center lineman. So he is looking for a landing spot, and there was a commitment there to Kalen DeBoer, who is no longer there. So another Washington player in the portal. I don't know where that list stands now. I know at one point it was around 15 or 16. It's got to be in the 20 range. We've got Mike Gundy's son, Ohio University quarterback Gunnar Gundy. And I don't even know. I tend to hesitate in calling him an Ohio University quarterback because this is the transfer portal, folks. So you know what that means. Well, look, you got Gunnar Gundy. He was at OK State the last 3 seasons, including 2023. So to call him an Ohio quarterback, well, he didn't play for Ohio, probably hasn't even gone to school there. And he hit the transfer portal earlier this month from Oklahoma State to Ohio, and now he's decided, I'm going to hit the transfer portal again. Who knows in a situation like that what's going on? Because this is a backup quarterback. This is most likely going to be a 3rd-string quarterback on the Power 5 level, and a guy who's going to possibly vie for a job at the Group of 5 level, possibly, depending on where that is. And he leaves Oklahoma State, He's been there for 3 years. He's thrown 73 passes, 449 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks, and mop-up duty. He leaves OK State. He's gone for not even a month. Doesn't even attend school, I am guessing. I think that's not much of a stretch in Athens, Ohio. And now he's picked up and going to leave again. Most likely. He could obviously come back out of the portal and stay with Ohio. But you just wonder in a situation like this, we're not talking about Will Howard or Quinshon Judkins or somebody of that level, Caden Proctor. So it's not like there are millions being tossed his way. But what was involved in that decision for him to enter the transfer portal after, and we're going to see this with some of the more recent transfer decisions that are related to coaches leaving, but that's not the case here. Of course, he's got his dad, and he's got one of the most secure coaching situations in college football in Stillwater with his dad, Mike Gundy. He goes to Ohio University. They got a really good thing going, 10-win team this past year. Tim Albin doing a nice job, and then he decides to leave. Hasn't even practiced, done anything. Okay. Don't know what the story is there. Then we've got, well, certainly you want to get your Browns season tickets. Absolutely. Okay. Here we've got the run of San Jose State players. You've got this guy, the wide receiver, Nick Nash. Really good player. He was a quarterback at San Jose State, and he never started, but he played. He threw 10 touchdown passes. Became a wide receiver the last couple of years and really took hold last year. 48 catches, 728 yards. You're talking about 16 yards per, 8 touchdowns. So he's in the portal with his coach, Brent Brennan, gone, and Ken Niumatalolo, the new San Jose State coach. Then we got another transfer coming in from Arizona again. And boom, as Horns 247 says right there, Texas lands a commitment from Arizona D lineman Tiwali Savea. Tiwali Savea goes from Arizona to Texas, 27 tackles, 1.5 sacks. And here's a situation where we do get on these guys for jumping from school to school, but Savea was at Arizona since 2019. So we're talking about 5 full seasons at Arizona, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and his coach leaves. So he actually was probably recruited by Kevin Sumlin and signed by Kevin Sumlin. But Savea moves on to Texas. Then we got 247 reporting former Washington signing and early enrollee Peyton Waters set to enter the transfer portal. There we go. Another Washington player. That's Peyton Waters. He was the 38th rated safety in the country in this past class of 2024, 34th rated player out of California. So the safety leaves Washington. His coach left as well. Here we go. San Jose State. This is a top flight player. You got a first team All Mountain West edge rusher in Trey Smith. He's in the portal, and he's going to be much coveted. I don't know where he ranks, but it's got to be pretty darn high. 66 tackles this past season, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks. And again, I respect the decision here because Trey Smith has been playing football at San Jose State since 2020. So he played 4 full seasons with San Jose State. So he may, in fact, be a graduate transfer, possibly. But Trey Smith can provide a pass rushing edge rusher for somebody. And also, ouch, San Jose State loses its leading tackler, Brian Parham, 106 tackles this past season. And 199 in his career. Again, San Jose State loses its near elite. I don't want to call him elite, 6.5 sacks, but a really good pass rusher, first team all conference in Trey Smith, and it's top tackler. Then we've got this move again, Washington. Transfer alert of Kamori House, and he has entered the transfer portal. And Kamori House went to St. John Bosco in Los Angeles. And those are the transfer portal moves since we went through it at this time on Monday afternoon with that guy, DeMarcus Davis. Next show is Hawkeyes Live, 5:30 Eastern in just about an hour. Let's see if you guys have anything. Rob J., I do not believe he's 40 or a man. Neither of those things. No, maybe he's a man. But yeah, we do appreciate Rob, Jay, Jim, Lisa, all of you in the chat. This little deal that we're doing each and every day this week, and maybe beyond this week, we'll see how it goes, see what the response is just to update the transfer portal. And a lot of San Jose State, Washington, Arizona, and Alabama, of course. And we will have guests. We've got a lot of media guests lined up for the next few days, representing Texas, Indiana, oh my goodness, Kentucky, and others. I forget. So tonight, Iowa Live, 5:30 Eastern, Nebraska at 7, Biggest 12 at 7:30, Michigan at 8, Oregon at 10:30. So lock it in, pick your favorite show, pick them all, and join us on all of those. We will see you in about an hour over on the Iowa channel. Thanks for stopping by for today's transfer portal update.